Chapter 17, Shelter from the Storm. The walk back to the Phi Delta Gamma house felt longer than it should have. Every step was heavy, weighed down by the simmering rage that was threatening to boil over. My hand, still gripping Zeph's arm with a force that bordered on painful, tightened with each pulse of anger. I could feel Zeph's discomfort, the slight wince that escaped him despite his attempts to maintain a facade of nonchalant defiance. Good. He should be uncomfortable. I pushed open the door to a small, rarely used study, a room filled with dusty books, discarded furniture, and the lingering scent of stale cigars, and shoved Zeph inside. He stumbled, catching himself on a worn leather armchair. I slammed the door shut, the sound echoing loudly in the otherwise quiet space, a physical punctuation mark on my fury. Zeph straightened, running a hand through his disheveled hair, trying to regain some semblance of composure. He forced a smirk, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "What's this all about, Polo? Couldn't handle a little friendly competition." "Competition?" I echoed, my voice low and dangerous, the word dripping with contempt. "Is that what you call it, Zeph? Assaulting a woman? Grabbing her, forcing yourself on her? That's your idea of competition?" Zeph's smirk faltered. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "Don't insult my intelligence," I said, my voice tight with controlled fury. "I saw you, Zeph. I saw the way you looked at her, the way you touched her. It was disgusting. It was predatory." "She's just playing hard to get," Zeph mumbled, his gaze shifting away from mine. "She likes the attention. They all do." That was it. The last thread of my control snapped. I took a step closer, invading his personal space, forcing him to look at me. "Daphne is not like that," I said, my voice a low growl. "She's not some game to be won, some prize to be claimed. She's a person, Zeph, a human being with feelings and boundaries. And you crossed every single one of them." Zeph finally met my gaze, his eyes narrowed, a flicker of fear replacing the arrogance. "You think you're so much better than me, don't you?" he sneered. "Mr. Perfect. Mr. Chivalrous. The golden boy. But you want her just as much as I do. You're just better at hiding it." "There's a difference, Zeph," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "I respect her. I respect her boundaries. I respect her choices. You see her as an object, something to be conquered. And that ends now." I leaned in closer, my face inches from his. "This is the last time you go near her, Zeph. The last time you even look at her. If I see you so much as breathe in her direction again, I swear to God I will make you regret it. Do you understand me?" Zeph swallowed hard, the bravado completely gone now, replaced by genuine fear. He nodded, a jerky, almost imperceptible movement. "Good," I said, straightening up. "Because I'm not going to let you, or anyone else, hurt her. Not again." I turned and walked towards the door, my anger still simmering, but now tempered with a cold, hard resolve. I paused with my hand on the doorknob, looking back at Zeph, who was still standing there, looking defeated and for the first time genuinely afraid. "And Zeph," I added, my voice low and final, "you're out of the Brotherhood. Effective immediately. Pack your things. I want you gone by morning." I didn't wait for a response. I opened the door and stepped out, leaving Zeph alone in the dusty, forgotten room, a fitting symbol of his own shattered status. As I walked back towards the party, the first fat raindrops began to fall, a prelude to the storm that was about to break. The imminent storm mirroring the turmoil inside me, the storm didn't just roll in, it attacked. It was as if some vengeful, unseen hand had flipped a switch, transforming the languid late summer evening into a maelstrom of wind and water. One moment the sky above was a hazy purple, delicately dusted with the first faint, hesitant stars. The next it was a roiling, churning battlefield of black and bruised gray clouds, ripped open by jagged streaks of lightning that illuminated the scene below with a harsh, unforgiving strobe effect. The Sigma Tau Chi end of summer blowout dissolved into panicked chaos. Partygoers, moments before posing for Instagram-perfect pictures, now scrambled for cover, their carefully cultivated cool replaced by shrieks and shouts. And somewhere in that swirling vortex of fleeing bodies, amidst the overturned tables and scattered solo cups, was Daphne. I felt a surge of primal protectiveness, a need to find her, to shield her, that overrode everything else. The lingering anger from the confrontation with Zeph evaporated, replaced by a single-minded focus. I scanned the lawn, the white of my shirt already starting to cling damply to my chest, my hair plastered to my forehead by the first fat drops of rain. Then I saw her. Across the rapidly emptying lawn, a small, solitary figure silhouetted against the flashing, apocalyptic sky. Her delicate frame, usually so composed, looked fragile and vulnerable amidst the chaos. Her hair was whipping around her face like a wild, untamed thing, and her eyes, wide and lost, were desperately searching the crowd. Our gazes locked. And in that single, electric moment, the storm, the noise, the panicked throng of fleeing partygoers, all of it faded into background noise. It was just her and me, and a connection that felt as undeniable, as powerful, and as inevitable as the storm itself. It was a magnetic pull, a force I couldn't explain and didn't even try to resist. I started towards her, moving with a determined, almost ruthless purpose. I pushed past fleeing bodies, dodging overturned furniture, ignoring the shouts and the increasingly heavy, almost painful rain. My muscles moved with an automatic efficiency, my mind focused solely on reaching her. Excitement, anticipation, God, I hoped so. I desperately hoped she felt even a fraction of what I was feeling. I shifted slightly, adjusting my body to hers, a subtle realignment that brought us even closer, if that was even possible. My hand, the one that had been gripping the edge of the awning with desperate force, moved lower, instinctively, drawn like a moth to a flame, to the bare skin of her waist exposed above the waistband of her shorts. My fingertips brushed against her, a feather-light touch, a tentative exploration, but the contact sent a jolt of electricity through me, a searing current that seemed to arc between us, connecting us on a deeper, more visceral level. I didn't pull away. My hand remained there, a warm, possessive presence, a silent claim, a staking of territory. I closed my eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply, savoring the feel of her, the scent of her, the sheer, undeniable presence of her pressed against me. I could feel the tension in her body, a coiled energy, a tightly wound spring that mirrored my own. I knew she felt it too, this undeniable pull, this magnetic force, this raw, elemental attraction that had been building between us for weeks, simmering just beneath the surface of our carefully constructed interactions. I knew with a certainty that went beyond logic, beyond reason, that she wanted me. I could feel it in the slight, almost imperceptible tremble of her body, in the way she leaned back just a fraction into my embrace, seeking perhaps unconsciously even closer contact, in the way her breathing hitched when my fingers moved ever so slightly against her skin. And God, I wanted her. More than I'd ever wanted anything in my life. I wanted to lose myself in her, to drown in her, to taste her, to feel her skin against mine, to erase the memory of Zeph's disgusting, violating touch with my own, to claim her, to make her mine. She tilted her head back, slowly, deliberately. Her eyes, wide and luminous in the flickering, intermittent flashes of lightning, met mine. Her gaze was intense, a dark, swirling pool of desire, a perfect, breathtaking reflection of my own longing. I lowered my head, slowly, deliberately, giving her time, giving her every opportunity to pull away, to stop me, to say no. My lips hovered just inches from hers, so close I could feel the warmth of her breath on my face, smell the sweet, intoxicating scent of her, a mixture of rain and that unique, indefinable fragrance that was hers alone. Time seemed to suspend, to stretch, to become meaningless. The roar of the storm faded into a distant, muted hum, a background soundtrack to the drama unfolding between us. The only sound I could hear, the only sound that mattered, was the frantic, thunderous beat of my own heart, the blood rushing in my ears, a primal, insistent rhythm that echoed the pounding rain. My lips brushed against hers, a tentative, questioning touch, a feather-light caress, a promise of what was to come. Her breath caught in her throat, a soft, almost inaudible gasp, a sound that sent another surge of desire through me. She parted her lips slightly, a silent invitation, a surrender, a yielding. I felt a surge of triumph, of raw, overwhelming, almost blinding desire. I was about to claim her mouth, to deepen the kiss, to finally taste the sweetness I'd been craving for so long. And then something shifted. A flicker of something in her eyes. A shadow. A hesitation. A fear. She pulled back, her hand small but surprisingly strong pushing against my chest, creating a small but significant insurmountable space between us. Her eyes, which had been filled with a dark, intoxicating desire just moments before, were now wide and clouded with a complex mixture of longing and fear. And something. What's wrong? I asked, my voice rough hoarse, my heart pounding a heavy, painful, irregular rhythm, a drumbeat of dread. She shook her head, her eyes darting around, avoiding mine, searching for an escape, for anything but my gaze. I can't do this, she said, her voice strained, almost desperate, laced with a pain I couldn't understand. Before I could say anything, before I could try to understand, before I could even begin to process what was happening, she ducked under my arm, escaping the shelter of the awning and my embrace, stepping out into the driving, unforgiving rain. She didn't look back, didn't see the confusion, the hurt, the frustration, the raw, exposed vulnerability that I knew must be etched on my face, plain for anyone to see. She just ran. Blindly, desperately, disappearing into the swirling chaos of the storm, swallowed up by the darkness. I stood there, alone, the rain plastering my shirt to my body, the wind whipping around me, feeling utterly, completely, devastatingly lost and bewildered. A hollow ache had settled in my chest, a cold, empty space where just moments before there had been fire, there had been hope, there had been the promise of something real, something intense, something extraordinary. What had just happened? One moment we were on the verge of something, a breakthrough, a connection, a moment of truth. The next she was gone, vanished into the storm, leaving me standing there, drenched and reeling, with 1,000 unanswered questions swirling in my mind. The image of Zeph's face, his smug, leering expression, flashed through my mind. Had he done something more than just grab her, said something that cut deeper? The thought fueled a cold rage, a desperate need to protect her from him, from anyone like him. But that rage was immediately followed by a sickening wave of self-doubt. What if I was the problem? What if, by association, by my very presence, I represented everything she was now running from? The biggest threat to her happiness might be me. The thought filled me with a cold, simmering rage, a fury that burned hotter than any desire. It fueled a renewed determination to protect her, not just from the storm, not just from Zeph, but from anything and anyone that threatened her, that hurt her, that made her feel the way she clearly felt right now, afraid, uncertain, and utterly, heartbreakingly alone. But I also knew, with a sinking feeling in my gut, that the biggest threat to her happiness right now might be me.